We're driving the Natchez Trace Parkway from Natchez, Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee. We've been to Indian Mounds, antebellum ruins, ghost towns, a state capital, a cypress swamp, and even a waterfall. Today we continue the adventure, visiting Elvis Presley's birthplace, the Meriwether Lewis final resting place, more waterfalls, and the Music City. Oh, then Chattanooga. The adventure continues. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be. 'Cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah. This was a lovely campground, right off the Natchez Trace Parkway, one of 3 campgrounds located along the parkway and managed by the National Park Service. All free, all primitive. And here we have a section of the old trace. The old trace. So that's what it used to look like. The Natchez Trace Parkway may not be the most picturesque drive, I mean from a textbook beautiful standpoint, but I'm beginning to appreciate its virtues. No traffic for one, no billboards, just you and the land and the trees. It is very relaxing. Every few miles we will encounter one of these historic sites, but if we were to stop at every single one of them, this could take a very long time. So on this trip, we're just stopping at the highlights or when we feel we need to take a break, like now. These are called Bynum Mounds, another one of many culturally significant Native American sites along the parkway. This one sacred to the Chickasaw Nation. They have some displays with information about the Chickasaw people and different mounds around the country, so feel free to pause if you'd like. Another thing I've noticed about the Natchez Trace is its apparent remoteness. You could be very close to a town or a city, and it still feels like you are in the wild. For example, right now if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know that we are in the outskirts of Tupelo. Let's stop at the Chickasaw Village site. Wouldn't you agree this truck really needs a car wash, huh? There's dirt from like 3 different states there, and but some people say it gives it character. So I don't know. What do you think? Let's check this place out here real quick, and then we're going to visit the King as we continue here exploring the Natchez Trace Parkway. We're still in Mississippi, but soon we're gonna cross into Alabama and eventually Tennessee. So this would be the ancestral homeland of the Chickasaw people. And I guess that's what it would have looked like. Let's check it out. I guess we're gonna have to use our imagination on this one. I really was expecting something a little more reconstructed, if you will. But, I mean, how do they know that these structures were really here, right? I mean, this is modern concrete. There's, I mean, I'll take their word for it, but you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, it is a good way to learn about this ancient culture, but there's nothing palpable to see. Next, we're going to perhaps the most visited attraction along the Natchez Trace. Not on the trace itself, but I'd have to say a pilgrimage for many music lovers. Back in 2016, we visited Graceland in Memphis and actually came here to Tupelo, Mississippi. We spent the night at Walmart and came here in the morning and saw some of the outdoor displays. But the store itself was closed that early, and in order to see any of the indoor attractions, you have to purchase a ticket. So that's what we're doing today. Yes, we're going to visit Elvis Presley's birthplace. Here's the first exhibit. It was in a car very similar to this one that the Presleys moved from here to Memphis on November 6, 1948. A 100-mile ride that helped launch Elvis's successful musical career. Here's the back of the house.
January 8th, 1935. Fun fact, exactly same date and year as my mom.
By the way, this is what they call a shotgun house. It has a door in the front, a door in the back, and a door between the rooms with no hallway, which is great for air circulation in hot climates. And apparently the design was brought to America, to New Orleans more specifically, by Haitian immigrants who brought it from Africa themselves. It is only a 2-room house, so I guess the bedroom would have to double as living room. Let's step into the kitchen, which is also dining room. So yeah, very humble beginnings.
I'm not going to ask her if this is the original wallpaper.
They added the wallpaper, the 2 light bulbs, and the porch swing in 71. If wallpaper was available, they couldn't afford it. They used newspaper for insulation and decoration.
Here's a sculpture depicting Elvis as he would have looked at age 13.
13-year-old Elvis right here.
They have several of these signs explaining Elvis's many musical influences. Here's his childhood church, which was moved here from its original location and the place where Elvis first listened to gospel music, which was a great influence on him. They have a pretty good, if a little dated, audiovisual presentation here every hour about what a typical Sunday service would have been like. Let's step into the Memorial Chapel real quick.
Elvis died, the city started getting money from all over the world, so they do something for Elvis.
This is called the Fountain of Life. Let's go up to the Overlook Pavilion, where young Elvis perhaps would have enjoyed a great view of the town and one of his favorite places even towards the end of his life.
Here we have it, we made it all the way up, and here's the Becoming Elvis statue. And there's little Elvis and big Elvis.
The statue features an 11-year-old Elvis with his first guitar, and then at the height of his career in the 1970s.
I just finished with the presentation at the church. They didn't allow video in there or pictures, but I mean, it's a movie. It's a movie about what a church service would have been like back in the 1940s, and you can kind of tell how that type of music influenced Elvis's work throughout the years. I mean, you can hear Elvis's songs there, if you will. This was just under $20 to visit. I don't know if it's, I think it was worth it in the end. So Now we're gonna continue on the Natchez Trace.
By the way, there's a whole trail of Elvis-related points of interest around Tupelo, but we decided visiting the birthplace was enough for this trip.
As you may have guessed, we're back on the Natchez Trace, and we're gonna check out this segment of the old trace here. Yeah, we just made that quick detour to visit the birthplace of the king, and now we continue. There's supposed to be some Confederate graveyards around this part here of the old trace. So yeah, it is supposed to be a 5-minute walk, and we've been blessed with such great weather for the past couple of days, you know, in comparison to the weather we experienced in Orange Beach. So, you know, that's the one thing, you know, you can't control it. Look at that. Not a cloud in the sky. Back on the old trace. Here we are. Well, the trace continues that way, but we're just gonna see this real quick. 13 unknown Confederates.
By the way, these are not the original grave markers. Those probably even had names on them, but they disappeared a long time ago. These were put here by the National Park Service.
Okay, here's a map depicting the Natchez Trace as a whole. 450 miles. From Natchez, right on the Mississippi River through Jackson. We are here right now. Now, in a few minutes, we're gonna cross into Alabama briefly. This will be the Tennessee River. And I did this section a couple of years ago, and then the Duck River, and eventually Nashville. We're gonna deviate and go into Mississippi, kind of straight north at this point today, and then we'll reconvene and retake the final segment of the Natchez Trace. I've heard about this road some years back, and somehow I felt compelled to take it someday, and now we have, and I'm very glad I did. So far, is it like top 5? Probably not even top 10 of best, most scenic drives in the United States. I don't think it is about that. It's more about the history of the area. And I've heard that in spring it's much nicer. Right now the trees, you know, we're in the dead of winter here. I mean, still t-shirt weather, but it's the dead of winter. We're here in early February. So yeah, I guess let me get back to the car and go as far north as I can on the Natchez, and then when I realize that it's gonna be nighttime by the time we get to our destination, I'll just take a more direct route. We're going to the Linden area, Linden, Tennessee. That's our final destination for today.
Someone's always in a hurry, even on the Natchez Trace. This seems to be a pretty popular one, the Far Mounds.
We are at the Far Mounds. It's the most important archaeological site in northern Mississippi. Check it out. No idea.
The Far Mounds are pretty far from the parkway, but still, very nice view. And this is probably the last thing we're going to see today. Apparently the road is closed ahead, so we're not gonna be able to see the part that crosses the Mississippi River or the northwest corner of Alabama. We're starting to see signs saying road closed from mile 295 to 320 and follow detour signs, so this is our cue. We're finally crossing the Tennessee River at Pickwick Dam, just not on the Natchez Trace, which is a real bummer. And one thing I didn't miss was the commercial traffic. I know we need trucks to deliver goods and all that, but sometimes it is just nice having the road all to yourself. We're going to drive all the way up to Interstate 40, just about an hour west of Nashville, which is about 2 hours from where we are right now, in order to visit our friends Mike and Jennifer of the RV Lifestyle YouTube channel. We've been digital friends for a few years now, and we have met up occasionally at RV shows here and there, but I'm looking forward to getting to know them even better. We're staying at the Buffalo I-40 KOA. As of 2022, the closest full hookup campground to Linden, about a half an hour drive north. We're gonna have dinner at the local Amish restaurant just off I-40. Fried green tomatoes and very juicy pork chops.
That was some really good country eating. Now, good night.
We spent a couple of days in the area, getting to know each other, exchanging ideas about all kinds of different subjects. But oddly enough, there's not a whole lot of video for me to show you. Suffice to say, it was a good time. And now we're ready to continue on the final stretch of the Natchez Trace Parkway. Since we are departing on our Lewis and Clark trip soon, I thought it would be appropriate to begin our final leg of the Natchez Trace Parkway at Meriwether Lewis's final resting place. Here's the location of the log cabin where Lewis died. Now, how he died is unclear. There were several gunshots, but to this day we don't know whether it was murder or suicide.
And this is the point where we're gonna take once again the Natchez Trace, but this is a very important spot and very interesting to us because the next trip is going to be the Lewis and Clark Trail, and this is the spot. Well, let's check it out. There he is, Meriwether Lewis.
Here's the timeline of the events that transpired before Lewis's premature, untimely death.
Ruins of the grinder house in which Meriwether Lewis met his death. So this is not it. This would be the ruins. And as you can see, we can see a little bit of a foundation here, so that must be it.
Here it is, the final resting place of a true American hero, the first American to lead the very first transcontinental road trip, or river trip for the most part, yet many times he barely appears as a footnote in history, as we'll soon find out.
So there it is, 35-year-old Meriwether Lewis. Beneath this monument erected under Legislative Act by the state of Tennessee in 1848 reposes the dust of Meriwether Lewis, a captain in the United States Army. And what I was reading there at the museum is that the monument represents a broken column representing, his life, who ended, too early in life, too soon. His life abruptly ended at the tender age of 35 years old. This whole thing apparently is a graveyard. But yeah, that's it. Now we're gonna continue on the Natchez Trace.
before we continue on the Natchez Trace Parkway, let's stop by the Meriwether Lewis Campground, the third one of the free National Park Service campgrounds here. We had every intention of spending the night here too, but since we didn't, let's just take a look. Just like the other two, it is very nice and completely empty on this Sunday morning. And we're back on the Natchez Trace Parkway. Let's check out Fall Hollow here real quick. Have you ever had a camera malfunction? Well, I've got no audio on the GoPro, so we'll let the images speak for themselves. Well, yeah, this Florida boy is fascinated by icicles. Actually, this camera does have audio. Uh-oh, I think I went off trail. And we're back at the trailhead. Well, that was one of the most rewarding hikes of the Natchez Trace so far. I mean, it's the only real hike we've done, if you think about it. And we've got one more coming up. Looking at this landscape, we really owe it to ourselves to come back when it is all green. Coming up here, the Tobacco Farm and the Old Natchez Trace Drive. Yes, there is an actual section of the old road you can drive on. Well, yeah, there used to be an actual tobacco farm here. Let's step into the tobacco barn, where the leaves would be air-cured. Oh, this brings back memories from my teenage years. Did you know I worked on a tobacco farm for a season back in Cuba? 1987, I want to say. Yeah, it's a long story for a different time. Let's drive on the Old Natchez Trace. What could possibly go wrong? Well, I don't really know how prudent this might be, but we're going to do it with the trailer in tow, with two-wheel drive. I'm sure it's gonna be fine, right? I think we're gonna make it. Back on pavement, and yes, it feels good. And we're gonna do one more hike, and that is Jackson Falls. Actually, there are several points of interest at this pullout and the longer trail, but I think we're just gonna do the falls. Let's do it! Okay, here we have a map of sorts. There's a trail to the Baker Bluff overlook that we can also drive to, and then the trail going to Jackson Falls, which is the one we're gonna do.
A beautiful view from up here.
I'm sure I'm saying, what a great view we have here, or something like that. By the way, pretty easy trail so far. It is paved, and if it wasn't so steep, it would probably be considered ADA compliant, but I think it is too steep for that. Here I am once again fascinated by the icicles, and we can already see the falls from here. Well, this is beautiful. Okay, let's get a little closer. Oh, wait a minute, it keeps going higher here on the right. And there are more icicles. Here I am, probably saying what a pleasant surprise it was to find this waterfall. We've got one last point of interest today, and that is the Gordon House, the house of ferry operator John Gordon, dating back to 1818. It is one of the few remaining buildings associated with the old Natchez Trace. That's it. We're going to Nashville. We're about to drive on the famous Double Arch Bridge completed in 1995, you know, the one that shows up in all the pictures. And this is it, the end of the Natchez Trace Parkway. Now here's Loveless Cafe. Been there, done that a few years back, didn't think it was worth the wait. Besides, it doesn't feel right going to the Loveless Cafe the day before Valentine's Day. So instead, we're going to party in Nashville. We're going to stay at the Nashville KOA Resort. A pricey one, but sometimes you gotta do it. You average the free ones on the parkway and the resort, and it doesn't look so bad. Besides, we're in a city, and not just any city. One of my favorite cities. We're going into Nashville, downtown Nashville, Broadway, you know, all the honky-tonk bars. That should be fun, right? Yes, we're gonna do the touristy thing, because that's what we are, and it is something this city is very good at. And this is it, Broadway in downtown. And what I love about Broadway, it's all the great live music. It is bar after bar with live entertainment. And they're not just your run-of-the-mill cover bands. Every band everywhere is a quality act. It is such a treat to be able to listen to live music at a place like this. And I know, there's plenty more to see in this town, but this is what we came for. We've been here before, and I promise you, we'll be back again. After Nashville, the road will take us to Chattanooga. But more about that on the next episode. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the road. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be. And 'cause I'm free in my RV, yeah, I'm riding. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be. 'Cause I'm free
in my RV.